Och då pratar jag hur kommer det vara?
That's all the slate is mine. Table like this is worked by a team of 4 men. You have 2 rockmen working inside the chamber, and it was their job to build holes for busting to get the slate blocks. They had 2 partners working in the mill outside, and it was their job to split the dusty slate. Well, these 4 men were partners, and any money they made would have been shared out between the 4 of them at the end of each month. At the start of each month, this man here in the ball hat, the steward or the underground manager, he would come down into the chambers and he would negotiate with these men a price or a bargain, as they called it at that time, for working a chamber. And these men were paid on the amount of good looking slates that they produced in the mill outside. For drilling holes for busting at that time, the men would use this tool. It's called a jumper. It's pretty heavy and it's just like a chisel at both ends. He has got a weight here to help him. He would have used something like this. Turning it as he went down. Once you got down to the weight, if you wanted a deeper hole, he'd simply turn it over and start again. And they reckon to drill a hole the length of this jumper could take up to 8 hours. Must be pretty hard work at that time. And once you've drilled the hole, he has to get ready for charging it. And you need a fuse and some gunpowder. Well, this is a modern day fuse, which burns accurately at 1 foot per minute and it's waterproof. In the old days, it would have hemp cord, intertwined with black powder, and it certainly wasn't very safe. The gunpowder at that time was carried in this tool. It's called a horn or a bugle. Once you drilled the hole, put some powder in, turn the fuse to the top, put the fuse in, bit more powder, bit of paper on top, some loose stones and dust, and they would then stamp it all down tight. They would have used this tool. It's called a stamper, and it's made out of brass. There is a groove running down here, hopefully to protect the fuse as it stamps it all down tight, because gunpowder will not explode unless it is packed in quite tightly. Once you're ready for busting, you have to clear all the tools away, and once you've left the fuse up there, you have to come down the rock face and then hide in the sun behind us to wait for the blast. Once the blast had been, the chamber would be full of dust and smoke. In my wait for a while before it came back, and the slate blocks that came down could be any size of weight, and they had to be loaded onto the wagons and then pushed out to the mill outside for splitting. 150 years ago, all this work had to be done by candlelight. And to give you a rough idea what it was like to work by candlelight at that time, I'll just put the lights out for a minute. And these men who worked down here in the early years would have worked 6 days a week. From Monday to Friday, they would work from 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 at night. On Saturday, they would work until dinner time, but they never worked on the Sunday. They probably went to chapel or church 3 times on the Sunday, and maybe twice in the week as well. There are 3 days holidays here, those being Christmas Day, Easter Friday, and Harvest Thanksgiving Day, which were all religious holidays, and they were all taken without pay. Young boys between 10 and 12 years of age would come down here to learn how to work in the mine, but they would have to shed light on these men's candles because they simply could not afford candles of their own. And working down here, you get the cold, the damp, the dust and the smoke to contend with. But the biggest problem these men faced was the dust. The dust would cause what is known today as silicosis, which is dust being breathed in, going to the lungs and hardening, and they would find it very difficult to breathe. These men probably worked until they were about 35 to 40 years of age, working in these conditions. And if they couldn't work down here anymore, they would have to rely on their families or their friends to support them for the rest of their lives. And to any money the men made, they had to buy their own candles, tools, gunpowder, fuses, and they also had to pay the blacksmith at the end of the month for sharpening and hardening all the tools. So I was pretty hard life for them all those years ago working in these conditions. And as far as the wages go, it's all dependent on the quality of the slate. They go out to these chambers, how many good roofing slates they can produce in the mill outside. But we do know from the company records that the average wage of a rockman working down here about 150 years ago was 2 shillings 4 pennies and farthing a day, which in today's money is roughly about 12 pence. Well, the average wage for the week would be in the region of around 70 pence, is what we have today. Once we just wrap up, we'll be going up there, and one of my colleagues will be putting the scene up there. So would you mind just waiting inside the chamber, please? Just wait for the same.